15 spine-chilling tales revealed, unexplained sinister confessions from Reddit's haunted shadow. Sarah's heart raced as she read the chilling confessions on Reddit. Ordinary lives twisted into nightmares, dark secrets lurking behind friendly facades. In her struggling Midwest suburb, the air felt heavy with unease as if the very houses held their breath. She scrolled through tales of sinister neighbors, each story more horrifying than the last. A mailman with an unsettling gaze. A family that never left home. Children's whispers that never seemed to fade. It can't be this bad, she thought, yet a creeping dread settled into her bones. After a long shift at the diner, where she served greasy fries to tired faces, Sarah trudged home. The streets were oddly silent. Her mind buzzed with fatigue, but instinct warned her something was off. The front door to their modest two-bedroom house stood ajar, almost inviting. Fear coiled in her stomach as she pushed it open, the hinges creaking ominously. "Lily?" she called. No response. Just the oppressive quiet, like a thick fog wrapping around her. Once inside, she felt at the chill of being watched. Shadows flickered at the corners of her vision. Maybe it was exhaustion, but she'd never felt more uneasy. Fighting the feeling, she sank into her chair, scrolling again through those fearful stories online. She stumbled upon one about the cheerful mailman, a man whose smile turned sinister when you peeled back the layers of his life. Murmurs of his past revealed a troubling history of inappropriate behavior with neighborhood children. She shook her head, trying to laugh it off, but the icy grip of worry tightened around her heart. The days dragged on, panic gnawing at her mind until she couldn't ignore it anymore. Lily, her sweet angel, began talking about her new friends. Invisible companions that seemed all too real. Laughter echoed late at night, seeping through the walls like poison. When Sarah confronted her, Lily's innocent smile turned into something unsettling, something that sent spikes of terror straight through Sarah's bones. "Who are your friends, Lily?" she asked, voice trembling. "Just my friends, Mommy." Lily giggled, her eyes dancing with an eerie light. Sarah's mind raced. Children's imagination was one thing, this felt like something far darker. She wanted to believe it was her exhaustion, but as shadows moved in the corners of her room and whispers slithered through the night, dread settled deeper. Desperate, she approached their neighbors, knocking on doors, seeking solace, only to be met with blank stares and indifferent shrugs. The local police dismissed her concerns as paranoia. "You've been working too hard, Ma," they said, rolling their eyes. Isolation closed in around her like a tomb. Just last week, Mr. Harris, across the street, hadn't been seen for days. An abnormality that now seemed sinister in hindsight. Why was no one else concerned? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The nightmares escalated, shadows playing tricks on her eyes. One night, she jerked awake to laughter and whispers from Lily's room. Heart pounding, she rushed in, breath hitching at the sight before her. Lily sitting up, an unsettling smile plastered on her face, engaged in deep conversation with thin air. The muffled giggles chilling her to the bone. Panic surged. What if the nightmares weren't just figments of imagination? As she backed away slowly, a knock echoed through the house, sharp and intrusive. The mailman stood at her door. He grinned, his eyes glinting like polished knives. Thought I'd finally introduce myself. "I've heard a lot about you, and your daughter," he declared, the smile not quite reaching his eyes. The weight of dread pressed down as Sarah's blood turned to ice, sealing the door may no longer be an option. She felt the suffocating reality dawning. The real monsters were not in her dreams but across the street, hidden in plain sight. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she processed the mailman's words. His smile twisted, darkening the cheerful facade with an unsettling hint of malice. The door felt flimsy against the dread unfurling inside her, like an overripe fruit ready to burst. Adrenaline surged, blending panic with the instinct to protect her daughter at all costs. "Why are you here?" she stammered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just wanting to be neighborly," he replied, voice too smooth, too practiced. "I'm here to make sure you and Lily feel safe." He leaned forward, pushing the boundaries of her threshold, the light behind him casting him in shadow. In that moment, a wave of noise erupted from Lily's room. Raucous laughter erupted, the kind that felt wrong, hollow, and foreign. Sarah's heart raced, every nerve screaming to pull away from this man and rush to her child. "I think you should leave," she said, edging the door further closed, but he pushed back slightly, a wry grin still plastered to his face. "Come now, I only want to help," he insisted, tilting his head like a curious dog analyzing its owner. The sunlight faded outside as clouds rolled in, the air thickening with tension. "I don't need your help." Sarah shot back, anger mixing with fear. She slammed the door, locking it with a fierce click. The quiet settled back around her, but that sense of being watched swelled like a living thing, breathing heavily just beyond her walls. She rushed to Lily's room, prayer and dread mixed in her throat. As she stepped in, she froze. Lily sat in the middle of her room, surrounded by a circle of shadowy figures, their forms indistinct, shifting like smoke. Her daughter's laughter bubbled up, bright and eerie, bouncing off the walls, filling the room. "Lily!" Sarah called, heart in her throat. "Who are you talking to?" Lily turned, her eyes reflecting something grotesque, a glint far too bright for daylight. "Just my friends, Mommy. They say they want to play." The shadows quivered, the laughter fading into hushed whispers that felt like cold wind against Sarah's skin. She tried to take a step closer, but fear rooted her to the spot. "What kind of friends?" "They want to come outside," Lily said, voice lilting, almost childlike. "Almost. No." Sarah shouted, panic lacing her tone. "You can't go with them, Lily." Instantly, the laughter shifted, turning sinister. The shadows danced closer, the room growing colder, wrapping around Sarah like an ice-cold hand. "Why not?" Lily's voice took on an edge. "They say they can make me happy." Fear rolled through Sarah like a wave. She took a step forward, battling the icy grip of dread that clawed at her mind. "They're not real, Lily. You can't trust them." And in that instant, the flickering lights dimmed, the room warped, shadows pulsating as if they had a life of their own. Sarah felt an unseen force press down on her, suffocating, as panic escalated within her chest. Behind her, the door creaked open, that insufferable mailman backlit, his gaze fixed on Lily. "It's all right, sweetheart. You can come with me." As his sinister voice wrapped around Sarah like a noose, she knew she had to act. But how could she protect Lily from whatever darkness had taken a hold of her innocent child? "Lily, come to me." She lunged forward, but the shadows veered in front of her, blocking her path like a wall of night. "Mommy, I love my friends." Lily's voice echoed, clearer, more urgent as if deeper forces were compelling her. The mailman's smile stretched impossibly wide. "It's time for her to join the fun." Fear broke over Sarah as she gripped Lily's shoulder tightly. What if the memories were just shadows? What was waiting for them beyond the door? She needed help, but time was running out. Every second felt like a countdown to something unfathomable. "Stop!" Sarah screamed, as the shadows converged, thickening like fog, enveloping her world. The laughter rose, mingling with Lily's cries, spinning into an unholy song, and then, darkness closed in. In that oppressive silence, Sarah knew that if she didn't get Lily away from this nightmare, she might never see her little girl again. But as she turned her back to the mailman, she heard him whisper, just before everything went black, "You can't run from what you can't see." Desperation clawed at her as she felt her grip on her daughter slipping. The next chapter of their lives was about to be written in horror. Would she have the strength to face whatever spun its web around them? Sarah awoke with a gasp, her body jolting forward as if pulled from a deep and dark abyss. The air was heavy with an acrid scent, as if smoke had settled in the corners of the room. She blinked, trying to piece together the fragments of reality, but they slipped just out of reach like fading dreams. "Lily?" she called, her voice trembling as it echoed off cold, bare walls. Panic welled, engulfing her as she frantically scanned the room, but it was empty. The playful shadows were gone, leaving nothing but a muted chill in the air. "Where is she?" Fear escalated, tightening around her throat. "Lily!" Her heart pounded like thunder as she rushed to the door, flinging it open to confront the darkness beyond. The hallway loomed, dim and uninviting. The oppressive silence whispered ominous thoughts, and dread wrapped around her chest like a vice. "Lily!" she cried again, voice growing hoarse. With each step she took, the house groaned, protesting her movement like a creature irritated by her intrusion. The walls seemed to close in, shadows creeping just beyond her vision, an invisible weave of menace. She moved down the hall, each creak of the floorboards echoing in the silent vacuum, amplifying her unease. Had the mailman taken Lily? No, he can't. She felt like a moth circling a flickering flame, drawn to danger, yet terrified of what it would bring. Panic began to rise again as she reached Lily's room. The door swung open, revealing cold emptiness. The bed was neatly made, and toys sat in the same spot they'd always been in. Even the daylight outside had turned dull, weaving threads of gray through the window. "No." Sarah pressed a hand over her mouth to stifle the sob that threatened to break free. Desperation filled her lungs as she searched every corner of the room. "Lily, please. Where are you?" A low whisper danced on the air, faint but unmistakable. "Mommy," the sound echoed through her mind, familiar yet chilling. It came from downstairs. She hesitated at the edge of the hallway, the darkness below like a yawning chasm. There was something different about this sound. It was sweet with an undercurrent of taunt, mingling innocence with temptation. Sarah's heart raced as she gripped the banister, descending the stairs slowly, each step feeling like a descent into madness. The house felt alive, breathing around her, the shadows flickering at the edges of her vision. "Mommy, come play." The voice drifted again, more insistent, echoing around her like a sinister lullaby. "I'm coming," she shouted, forcing the words past trembling lips. She rushed into the living room, the space suddenly suffocating with darkness. The curtains were drawn tight, blocking any hint of sunlight. "Lily." In the center of the room, she saw a figure, smaller than a shadow, yet unmistakably her daughter. Lily stood with her back to Sarah, her hair cascading like a curtain, obscuring her face. "Mommy, I found my friends," Lily said softly, her voice too sweet, as if tainted with honey and poison. "They want to meet you." A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. "No, Lily. Come to me now." But it was too late. Before Sarah could react, the shadows coalesced around Lily, curling tight like a serpent ready to strike, and with them came the laughter derisive and echoing, each peal reverberating through Sarah's bones. "Lily, please." She lunged forward, but invisible hands pushed her away with terrifying force, sending her crashing against the wall. The floor shook beneath her, and the laughter grew, merging into a cacophony of despair that gripped her soul. "Mommy, don't be scared," Lily's voice called out, eerily clear, threading through the chaos. "It's so much fun here." As moments stretched into an eternity, dread clawed at Sarah's heart. What had happened to her child? This was no longer her Lily. The innocent laughter twisted into something grotesque, a siren's call luring her closer to the edge of an unfathomable abyss. Just as shadows swelled around Lily, Sarah felt a swell of hope. What if this was just the beginning of a fight for her daughter's soul? But as she struggled against the invisible grip keeping her bound, the room warped and warped, reality slipping further away. "Can you save her?" A voice whispered in her ear, chilling and sinister. And then it dawned on her, the terrifying truth echoing louder than the laughter: you can't fight what you cannot see. Would she dare confront whatever darkness lay ahead, knowing the fate of her child was intertwined with it? As the shadows creeped closer, she realized, she was running out of time. The darkness seemed to breathe around Sarah, wrapping itself tighter as she pressed her back against the wall, heart racing like a wild horse against her chest. She blinked through the ominous smoke of despair that hung in the air, her thoughts twisted and far away. Each wave of laughter grew louder, echoing off the walls sickeningly, mocking her. "Mommy, come play." Lily's voice resonated, layered with something sinister that wrapped itself around Sarah's heart. Was that really her daughter? Lily! She screamed again, the name tearing itself from her throat. But inside, she felt the encroaching doubt, creeping like a shadow beneath her skin. What if Lily was truly gone? The very thought twisted and churned in her stomach, unraveling the last threads of her sanity. Suddenly, the laughter halted, plunging the room into an unbearable silence. An eerie chill swept through the air, pulling away the warmth from her skin, leaving her a trembling figure ensnared in shadows. She forced herself to move, desperate to find anything that could lead her back to her daughter. But the way ahead felt obscured, every doorway loomed like a grave waiting to swallow her whole. "Let me see her." Sarah's voice came out weaker than she intended, cracking under pressure. The silence that followed was suffocating, filled with undulating tension, and then a sound. The scuttling echoed from beneath the floorboards, a skittering that made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. Her eyes darted to the dark corners of the living room, where malevolent shadows writhed like dark spirits. "Mommy, it's okay," came the soothing whisper again, a mockery of comfort that sent icy tendrils wrapping around her spine. "Lily," she breathed, inching toward the source of the sound, her mind battling against the instinct to turn and flee. With each step, she could feel the cold air thickening, wrapping around her legs like fetters, as if the house was alive, restraining her from escape. Then, just as she reached the doorway to the basement, a flicker of movement caught her eye. There, in the corner of the living room, a pair of small, gleaming eyes appeared, reflecting the dim light like twin orbs of malevolence. They were not Lily's, they belonged to something else, something that was watching her, waiting. "Mommy, it wants to play too," Lily's voice chimed, eerily innocent yet drenched in something darker, the chill creeping deeper into Sarah's bones. "Playtime," the creature in the shadows whispered in delight, voice slithering through the air, spreading dread like a poison. She spun around, instinct driving her through the living room and to the front door. The handle felt cold and foreign beneath her trembling fingers, and just as she twisted it, the laughter erupted again, lunging at her, pulling her back into the suffocating room, making fear claw at the edges of her mind. "Do you want to leave?" the creature hissed, its voice dripping with malice. "But Lily doesn't want you to go. Stay with us." Heart pounding, Sarah turned back to Lily, who stepped closer, her little body illuminated by flickering shadows. The child's face was void of expression, nothing left but vacant eyes that felt too big for her small frame. An echo of the daughter she loved flickered, but it was buried beneath the surface, lost to whatever had taken her. "What have you done to my daughter?" Sarah cried, desperation spilling over. The shadows laughed again, their voices weaving around her, filling the room, blanketing her in darkness. "Why don't you come find out?" The swirling mass of darkness tightened its grasp, and then it flickered. In that instant, a wave of potential washed over her. If she could just push through, find a way to shatter the veil between them. But the laughter merged into a chorus of taunting shrieks, and the shadows rushed forward, swallowing the room and everything within it. Sarah felt herself held back by the darkness as she clenched her fists. What was she willing to sacrifice to save her daughter? As uncertainty and terror coursed through her veins, Sarah knew she had to make a choice, and fast. Would she delve into the heart of this living nightmare, or would she forever lose Lily to the darkness? Time was running out, and the shadows were hungry. The darkness pulsed, alive and breathing, with a weight that pressed down on Sarah's chest. She could feel it tightening like a noose. Her daughter, if that even was Lily, stood barely 3 feet away, unblinking, an echo of innocence distorted beneath a layer of unsettling shadows. Join us, the creature cooed again, a grotesque mimicry of a child's delight. Mommy, don't you want to play? No. She shouted, anger and fear surging through her like fire. You're not Lily. You're not my daughter. The shadows crackled, as if amused. They shifted and danced, their forms elongating and twisting, the laughter morphing into a high-pitched screech that pierced the silence. Sarah felt herself drawn back, her feet fumbling against the wooden floor, her legs unwilling to obey as terror surged through her muscles. You can't run from us. The voice was everywhere at once, swirling around her like a macabre wind. You're with us now. She glanced at the front door, her only chance at escape. Could she make it? Heart pounding, she lunged toward it, but the moment her fingers brushed against the handle, a sudden chill enveloped her, vast and uninviting. An unseen force struck her, knocking her back as she collided into the wall, breath stolen from her lungs. The shadows closed in, wrapping around her in a suffocating grip, whispering promises of terror. Isn't this fun? Lily asked, her tone eerily sweet, but there was no warmth in her eyes. You'll play forever with us. Gritting her teeth, Sarah clawed at the dark tendrils wrapping around her, fighting to move, to breathe. She could feel the cold seeping into her bones, into her very essence. Images of Lily's laughter, of tea parties and bedtime stories, flashed through her mind, battling against the encroaching dread. No. She screamed into the abyss, voice breaking. I will save you. I will find you. The shadows shrieked, a collective rage that seemed to shake the very walls. Sarah stumbled back, grabbing onto a nearby chair for support. Her mind raced as she pieced together what she had to do. If she was going to save Lily, she had to confront whatever this was. Whatever had taken her daughter. With renewed determination, she took a deep breath and spoke, I know you're not her, but I want to let you take me. The room fell silent, the shadows freezing in place, as if pondering her challenge. Then, a low rumble of laughter returned, echoing in a wave of malevolent joy. Such spirit! You'll make it so much more enjoyable. A sudden crack in the darkness appeared, a sliver of pulsing light just beyond her grasp, beckoning. It could be a path to freedom or a ruse set by the darkness. Her heart raced as a choice loomed before her. Did she plunge into the light or confront the darkness that held Lily captive? Hurry, Mommy. I'm waiting. The voice, so familiar yet tainted, pulled at her heartstrings. Tremors ran through her as dread clutched her throat. There were no easy answers here. Time was slipping. With one last glance toward the light, she made her decision, bracing for the plunge. As she stepped forward, the shadows burst forth, billowing like a storm, eager to engulf her. What would she find in that fractured light? Would it lead to her daughter or a deeper nightmare? The shadows roared again, the ground beneath her trembling as she lunged forward into the unknown, where secrets buried in darkness awaited. The light enveloped her, a blinding beacon amid a sea of swirling black. For a heartbeat, she felt weightless, suspended above the terror behind her. But it only lasted a moment. As quickly as it came, the light began to fade, and she was plunged back into the suffocating darkness. Sarah gasped, a sharp breath filling her lungs with the tang of decay and fear. The shadows writhed hungrily, distorting shapes in ways that made her stomach churn. Desperation clawed at her mind, but it was drowned in the sinister whispers that slithered around her like serpents. You shouldn't have come here, they hissed, each word a jagged knife in her already frayed nerves. Where's Lily? She shouted, her voice cracking under the pressure of the infinite black. The darkness responded with cruel laughter, as if mocking her pitiful attempt to make sense of it all. Shoo! Don't you want to have fun? The question echoed. Fun. An unsettling word with 1,000 different meanings here. Sarah felt like a toy, lost in the hands of a child indifferent to the ramifications of a game. Panic surged again. She stumbled backward, her eyes darting around, desperate for any sign of a way out. A flicker caught her eye. Not far off, a figure appeared misty, almost human. Was it a trick of the shadows? Mommy. The voice was unmistakably Lily's. It was a cry filled with both hope and despair, sending dread rolling through Sarah's gut. Lily? She bolted towards the figure, but it receded each time, pulling further into the ink-black abyss. No. Don't leave me. Tears streamed down her face as she fought to keep up, her limbs heavy and unresponsive. Come play. Lily's voice danced mockingly in the air, sweetly tainted with something grotesque that made her skin crawl. It felt like the essence of innocence tainted with malice, wrapped in glittering promises. Stop. Stop playing. Sarah begged, her voice both a sob and a roar. The darkness thickened around her, and she felt its claws scratching at her resolve. The shadows were closing in again, pulsating with a dreadful rhythm as they tightened their grip on her. She had to make a choice. Was Lily a prisoner, a pawn in this twisted game, or was she more like the darkness that sought to engulf Sarah? A part of her screamed to keep chasing that flickering figure, the last thread of hope, while the other warned her that it could be bait drawn deeper into despair. With a sudden shudder, the air shifted, and shadows coalesced, forming a wall before her. A foggy silhouette began to form at its center, growing more defined. It had the shape of a woman, yet there was a grotesque twist to its silhouette. Was it someone she knew? Join us, Sarah, it beckoned, laughter bubbling up through its words, chilling her spine. You can't save her. She belongs to us now. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat. The creature's face began to form, twisted, familiar, and yet alien. She felt her heart drop. Was it truly Lily? Or a monstrous reflection of her? The shadows throbbed in anticipation, a hungry chorus of darkness waiting for her response. There was no path back. No easy answers. Just the swirling chaos that called to her, promising connection and eternal despair. As Sarah took an uncertain step forward, another cry pierced the air. Mommy! Help! She froze, torn between love and dread, the two emotions battling like thunder and lightning in her chest. What would she choose? Would the chase lead to salvation or damnation? Would she fight against the escalation of the shadows consuming everything she held dear? For now, that answer remained shrouded in darkness, just waiting for her decision. With a newfound resolve, Sarah called out again, Lily. I'm coming. Her voice shattered the oppressive silence, cutting through the mirthful whispers. Time felt suspended as she steadied herself. The cold seeped into her bones, curling icy fingers around her heart, but she couldn't give in. Surging forward, she chased the echo of her child's cries, each step heavier than the last, as if the ground itself conspired against her. The darkness seemed to warp, breathing with malicious intent, almost alive as it shifted around her. Shadows flickered in and out of existence, dancing just beyond her peripheral vision, mocking, teasing. Mommy! Help! The call was close, desperate, and all-consuming. Each word was like a blade, slicing through the haze of fear, forcing her to push forward, deeper into the unknown. But doubt gnawed at her heart, every instinct screamed this was a trap. Suddenly, the laughter swirled around her again, menacing and intoxicating. Join us. We play for eternity. The darkness rippled, pulling at her edges, beckoning her with promises she couldn't quite grasp. Hadn't she done this before, stepped into a void where everything felt wrong? But the notion of her daughter kept her anchored, tethered to a sliver of courage. Then, another figure materialized in the darkness, a tall man with hollow eyes, body wrapped in swirling shadows. You think she wants you? His voice was a garbled symphony of disdain and delight, dripping with lies. She's one of us now. Why fight? No. Sarah yelled, her voice cracking with panic. Lily needs me. Yet the man only smiled, a grin that sent shivers down her spine. As he stepped closer, the stench of rot washed over her, causing her stomach to churn. It was overwhelming, forcing her to retreat a step. Come play, he cooed, but this time, it was void of any childlike innocence. The words dripped with dark promise. 100 shadows emerged behind him, stretching and swirling, forming twisted shapes tethered to her worst nightmares. She felt their hunger, a thirst that craved her fear. "Join us, Sarah," they chorused, a dark lullaby swaying in eerie harmony. "You can be with her forever." No. The thought clawed at her mind. A choice loomed ahead. Could she fight them off, or would they drag her into the abyss, leaving only echoes of her existence behind? In a desperate bid, she wrenched open her thoughts, pulling memories of laughter, warmth, and the innocence of childhood. "You don't have her. You're lying." As those words escaped her, the darkness trembled, creating a rift filled with light brief but blinding. The figures shrieked in chaos as if her belief in that glimmer of hope was a weapon, pushing them back. But the joy was short-lived. The pain of loneliness clawed at her heart, a reminder that somewhere amidst this evil, Lily was lost. "Help me!" The cry echoed, now a chorus of children pleading for something, someone, in the darkness. Sarah stumbled but regained her footing. With her heart racing, she lunged forward, hoping the rift would widen, leading her closer to Lily. Each shadow that brushed her skin left a chill that sliced deeper into her resolve. As she plunged through the light, her heart raced anew, instinct pulling her forward. Would she find her daughter? Or would this be the last desperate chase in a game rigged against her? The question pulsed in her mind as the darkness snarled, waiting to reclaim her, waiting to swallow her whole. In the distance, laughter echoed once more, sickly sweet yet chilling, as the shadows regrouped, ready to lash out. The pull of the abyss deepened, and she knew this was only the beginning. What horrors awaited just beyond that last flicker of light? The darkness had one more surprise, and it was ready to unleash it. The light enveloped Sarah, blinding her momentarily. She fought against the urge to shield her eyes, desperate to see what lay beyond. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage and despair as they clawed at her, but the warmth of the light ignited a flicker of hope within her. It was fleeting, but enough to propel her forward. As the light began to fade, she found herself standing on a familiar street. Her street. The houses loomed like dark sentinels, their windows black and hollow, but the air was still. The silence felt thick, clinging to her skin like a shroud. It struck her as a cruel illusion. Was this reality, or a new trap spun by the darkness? "Lily!" She shouted again, her voice raw, resonating in the oppressive stillness. She turned to the house across the street, where they once lived, the wooden porch swaying as if inviting her in. Fear knotted in her stomach. What if Lily was home? What if she had never left? But deep down, she knew that wasn't the case. The memory of her daughter, warm and joyful, brought forth another wave of dread. The wind howled, carrying with it soft whispers that slithered into her ears. "Sarah, join us forever!" The darkness flared behind her, pressing in closer, taunting her with the evil that lurked just out of sight. Those voices, they twisted and curled around her, shaping her fears into tangible forms. Forcing herself to recalculate, she stepped onto the porch. The door creaked open at her touch, revealing the dim interior. Shadows pooled in the corners like ink, and each step reverberated in the silence. "Lily?" she whispered, her heart thudding against her ribcage. Inside, the house was a tomb, filled with memories coated in dust and despair. Photographs lined the wall, showing happier times, Lily laughing, giggling, vibrant. Now the images felt like cruel reminders, haunting her as much as the shadows outside. From down the hallway came a soft giggle, eerily reminiscent of Lily's laughter. It sent a chill coursing down Sarah's spine. Was this the light leading her home, or the darkness luring her into madness? "Mommy!" The voice sang, innocent yet distorted, bubbling with glee just beyond a closed door at the end of the hallway. Hope warred with dread, and she felt tears sting her eyes. "Lily! I'm here!" she cried, desperation breaking through her voice. "Come play with us," a chorus of voices cooed, echoing from just beyond the door, each word tainted with distortion. Her instincts screamed that it was a manipulation, a grotesque snare meant to suffocate her will. But as she reached for the doorknob, visions of her daughter flooded her mind. Lily spinning in the backyard, squealing with delight, her tiny feet racing across the grass. The door trembled under her touch, and for one heartbeat, she was sure she could feel Lily on the other side. "Mommy's coming!" she shouted, her voice pulling against the overwhelming urge to flee. It was more than fear, it was a primal instinct to protect. As she flung open the door, a swell of darkness surged forth, a torrent of shadows that whipped around her like a cyclone. The laughter morphed into shrieks, echoing with the pain of countless lost souls. The figures loomed, writhing, mouths twisted into macabre grins dripping with malice. "Join us!" they screeched, the sound unmistakably layered with Lily's voice, "Be mine forever." With her heart racing and her breath catching in her throat, Sarah stepped back. She could feel the chill re-entering her bones, could sense the shadows stretching their hands toward her, eager to pull her down. How could she free Lily? Could she tear her away from the throes of the dark? The door slammed shut behind her, flinging her back into cold darkness, and the laughter returned, a chorus of chilling echoes pulsing through the silence once again. What awaited her in this swirling abyss? Was the real test just beginning, or had she already sealed her and Lily's fate in that blinding moment of hope? The shrieks faded, leaving an unsettling echo that hung in the air like smoke, and Sarah's heart pounded with confusion and anguish. She clutched her chest as the cold bite of fear enveloped her once more. The house felt alive, its walls pulsing with a dark energy as if it were taunting her with memories of what once was. "Lily," she murmured again, the name a fragile whisper slipping through her dry lips. The shadows seemed to creep closer, inching along the walls like sentient creatures, eager to ensnare her. From somewhere deep within the house, the laughter returned, serene yet twisted, an intimate reckoning of her own despair. "Mommy, where are you?" The voice was soft, playful, but edged with something darker, an unnerving tone that grated on her nerves. She stumbled back, pressing against the wall for support, her breath hitching. "No. This isn't real. You're not her." The shadows writhed and danced, and she felt their icy breath against her skin, a whisper that grazed her ear, urging her to surrender. Panic surged as the shadows retaliated by clawing at her ankles, tugging with a relentless desperation. The hallway before her stretched impossibly long, each step forward feeling like a mile. But if she didn't move, the darkness would consume her, and she refused to let it. Mustering the last vestiges of her strength, she turned to run the door that led back outside, now an unrivaled beacon of hope. But the house had other plans. An unseen force rammed into her, throwing her off balance. She crashed to the floor, the cold hardwood biting into her palms. The laughter echoed, louder and sharper, expanding in the tight confines of the oppressive space. She could sense the shadows closing in, their weight pushing down on her, threatening to snuff out her last breath. "Lily!" she cried, her voice breaking, resonating with deep-seated pain. "You need to fight. Fight them." In that instant, the echoes ceased, silence enveloping her like a thick fog, and an unnatural calm washed over the room. It dawned on her that the laughter was gone, replaced by a silence that felt almost predatory. Something was watching her. She pushed herself up, heart racing in her chest. The air felt heavier now, electric with anticipation and dread. Straining to hear, she caught the faintest sound, a tiny gasp. Hope blossomed, a flicker of revival. Could Lily still be there, hidden from the shadows? With blurry vision, Sarah scanned the darkness, searching for any sign of her daughter. She shut her eyes, summoning the warmth of their last hug, that sweet smile that lit up even the darkest moments. "Lily," she whispered, "I'm coming for you." Fueled by love, she charged down the hallway, exhaling a determination that tempered her fear. But a sudden, violent tremor rocked the floor beneath her, staggering her. "Mommy!" A new voice, not Lily's but sweetly familiar, broke the chilled silence. Her sister, Emma, who had passed years ago. It echoed with the same gentle laughter, a haunting sweetness that snagged at her heartstrings. Emma? Sarah turned, breath held tight. Shadows twisted, morphing into faces, familiar ones obscured by darkness, their eyes longing and sad. Help me. The shadows bent closer, whispering in unison, weaving Emma's voice into their taunts. Join us. Terror gripped Sarah anew, but she felt a spark of hope. You're not real. She hissed, pushing against the tension, you're not taking me. But as she looked deeper, glimpses of truth flickered through the haze. The faces weren't menacing, they were desperate, trapped just like her. They were victims of the shadows, lost within this spectral nightmare. The air became electric as the room flipped on its axis, and Sarah teetered, falling into the swirling abyss. Nightmare visions enveloped her, flashes of her life, of joy and loss, intertwining, a chaotic maelstrom with no end. What was this place? Was she on the brink of rescue, or had she unraveled deeper into the sinister grip of despair? As the chilling abyss awaited to swallow her whole, the last image before her eyes steadied on an unseen door that glimmered faintly in the dark. Could it be her way out? Or, perhaps, a door deeper into the shadow's grasp? With one last deep breath, she lunged toward the glow, unsure of what lay ahead. The door swung open with a force that sent an echo through the darkness, bright light flooding the room and illuminating everything that had been hidden in shadows. Sarah stepped through and gasped, her heart racing. She found herself in the backyard, their backyard. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long, warm rays that enveloped her like a comforting blanket. The air was sweet, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers. Lily! She cried, her voice breaking with hope. But the garden felt oddly still, as though it too was holding its breath. Mommy, a small voice called from somewhere deeper in the yard. It sent tremors of fear and joy coursing through her. It was real. Her daughter was close. Sarah scanned the open space, spotting the old swing set creaking softly in the breeze. There, in the corner, under the shade of a large oak tree, sat a small figure. Shadows twisted at the edges of her vision, but she forced herself to focus on the light. Lily! She called as she rushed toward the figure, heart thrumming like a drum in her chest. As she drew closer, she realized it was indeed her daughter, but something was off. Lily looked up, her eyes wide, gleaming with a light that felt both joyful and unsettling. Mommy! Lily beamed, her innocent laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. But as Sarah knelt beside her, she could see traces of darkness lurking at the edges of her daughter's form, shadows coiling subtly around her small body. Please, Sarah whispered, her throat tightening. Please, come back to me. Lily reached out, her little fingers brushing against Sarah's hand. Mommy, I'm happy here. They're so nice. Who is nice, honey? What do you mean? Sarah gripped her daughter's hand, pulling her close, feeling the weight of darkness still clinging to her. Mommy, they want to play. They make me feel happy. A chill swept through Sarah. No, Lily, remember our games. The ones in the sun. The real ones. Not these games. She searched her daughter's gaze, terror fighting against love. You're not a shadow, you're Lily. My Lily. We can leave this place. But Lily's smile faltered, confusion flickering across her face. But they want us to stay, Lily, those aren't your friends. They're tricking you. Sarah pleaded, pulling her into an embrace. The warmth of Lily's body against hers stirred something profound within, swaying the shadows, almost brightening the corners of the yard. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. From the depths of the garden, chilling whispers rose up, surrounding them. She belongs with us, they hissed, voices curling around like thick smoke. Join us forever. No. Sarah shouted, feeling courage building within her. Lily, look at me. You don't belong to them. You belong with me. With family. Remember the stories? Remember the playground? The treehouse? Lily's eyes flickered again, shadows wavering. Mommy? Yes. You are so much stronger than this. With desperate determination, Sarah focused on her daughter, blocking out the threatening shadows creeping closer. You're the one who can make the darkness flee. Come back to me now. Lily blinked, uncertainty creeping into her soft features. Mommy, I'm scared. The shadows shrieked, swirling dangerously around them, but Sarah burned bright with love. I'm here. Don't let them take you. Hold on to me. Something shifted in Lily's gaze. For a moment, the shadows seemed to falter, the warmth of the sun's rays pushing further against the cold darkness. Mommy! She cried, and suddenly, the shadows let out a feral roar, shrieking in fury as they recoiled. I want to come home. Yes. Sarah shouted, feeling a weight lifting as they turned together, hand in hand. The sunlight blazed brighter, illuminating the cul-de-sac, chasing back the darkness. In a flash, they were enveloped in light, breaking through invisible barriers. The entire yard shimmered as the shadows shrieked their torment, fading into the background like wisps of smoke in the wind. With a final, gut-wrenching scream, the last remnants of darkness wilted before the brilliant glow. The world tilted, colors sprang forth, vivid and bright, until they landed back on their familiar street. Breathless, Sarah looked around. The houses stood lifeless and gray, a stark contrast to the vibrant place she had just escaped. We're safe, baby, she said, holding Lily tightly, who now felt warm and real, utterly, perfectly her. Mommy, we were playing. Yes, Lily, Sarah smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Just the two of us. Always just us. Together, they walked home. Shadows lurked in the corners, but the light of their love burned infinitely brighter. Now listen up. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm with your support. And I want to see your reactions. Don't just sit there like a ghost, flood the comments section with your theories about what just happened. Also, share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to experience this gripping conclusion. Don't wait another second, let us grow this community together. Join us for more thrilling adventures ahead.